we'll cover how to add, edit, and delete conduits in FactoryTalk Policy Manager. So to begin with, conduits are used to have trust beyond zones. Conduits have two endpoints. It can be a zone or a device, which results in three types of conduits. You can have a zone-to-zone conduit, a zone-to-device conduit, or device-to-device. So zone-to-zone conduit, all devices within one endpoint trust devices in the other endpoint. Zone-to-device, all devices within the zone trust that device. And device-to-device, each device trusts each other. So to add a conduit, you go to Conduits in navigation and click Add. The first thing you have to do is you have to select endpoints. So we will start with two certificate zones. Click Next, and now you can finish entering properties for that conduit. You have a name that has to have a unique name. A description is optional. And you have your endpoints you've already entered. And now you have some additional configuration. You can set the authentication method. So your options here are to have certificate or trusted IP. Trusted IP, also referred to as whitelisting, where you trust based on the IP. And then you have your I/O data security, which is class 0/1 messaging. And you have your choices of none, integrity only, or integrity and confidentiality. And then messaging security is class 3 messaging. You have your choices of integrity only or integrity and confidentiality. Now what happens is when you have two endpoints, you get default settings here based on making the most secure communication between these two. It's based on what settings you've already set for those zones will affect what is set here. You can already see probably that there is a warning going on, and the warning is the situation that one of these zones actually has a device in it that's not SIP security capable. So warning is telling the user you are setting up a conduit for trust using certificates, but there are going to be some endpoints within one of these zones that's not capable of certificates. And what it's going to do is going to use trusted IP authentication instead of certificates. Another type of conduit you can create is if you have one that's certificate and one that is PSK. And very similar properties. The difference that you'll see here is that the SIP security communication properties cannot be edited, and they are defaulted to trusted IP authentication method, none for I/O data security, and none for messaging security. And the reason is because the Zone 3 is using PSK for its authentication method. As a result, it can't use certificates for authentication. The only other option is to use trusted IP. So the user doesn't have a choice, it's set for them. The same would be true if I change this to be a zone that has no security. Then those settings are still set and the user can't change them. That does limit you on what kind of comments you can do, because if I do PSK to no security, that is also disabled and limited to that. So the only time these are enabled are when both endpoints are SIP security capable and using certificates. So we'll go through another one where we're going to do devices. So we'll go in here and we'll do device 2 to trust a zone. And so device 2 is SIP security capable. It's in a zone that's using certificate authentication, and zone 2 is using certificate authentication. Therefore, all these settings are enabled and set to defaults. And if you go into here, device 3 is not SIP security capable, but it's in a zone that has certificate as authentication method. And then I'll select a certificate zone. And what you'll see here is that even though it's in a certificate zone, the authentication method is limited to trusted IP and none for I/O data and messaging security. And the reason for that is device 3 is not SIP security capable, so it's not capable of doing certificates even though it's in a certificate zone. So the only way it can authenticate is using trusted IP, so it's limited in that manner. The same goes if you do device to device. So if I do a device 2 is SIP security capable, and device 6 is SIP security capable, you can see those are enabled, and it's a device. But if I change this to a device that's not using certificates, such as this one, the settings will be set and the user can't change it. So you can see that there are many options for the users to do conduits. You can see the properties in the table. To be able to edit conduits, you can do it at time of creation, but you can also come back to this table and click on a conduit, and you can see its properties in the property pane, where the user can then edit those properties. For deleting conduits, user can select a conduit and then click the delete button, and that will delete the conduit. Another way that conduits can be deleted is if you have a zone that has conduits, such as this zone. If I delete that zone, click on delete here, then it will delete all the conduits that were associated with it. So now you can see a lot of the conduits that were there are gone now because they were all pointing to zone 1. So that covers how to add, edit, and delete conduits in FactoryTalk Policy Manager.